You might wonder why I'm separating out the requirements, legal processes, funding, teacher certification pieces when it comes to educational disability categories. This is kind of my passion when it comes to my profession, in that I 100% believe that we need to have highly scientific, we need to have non-subjective ways to measure and to collect data so that students can become eligible for special education services when UDL, when tiered support systems and evidence-based practices are not working for an individual student's needs. But once a student has that qualification for special education and eligibility under one of our educational disability categories, we need to know what that really means for the student. I've provided a resource called The Big Picture in Special Education and a graphic on this slide for you to remember that even though our text lays out each eligibility category individually in chapters 7 through 17, and they do a great job of recommending educational strategies that most likely work for those different categories. As a special educator, that category does not drive how we plan instruction for students. High leverage practices, which I've also linked on this slide, have been identified as those practices that all special education teachers use to make sure all students are successful. They're paired with they're paired with evidence-based practices that are not specific to an individual label or an educational disability category. We have more to come on this when we start to talk about the teaching practices, but I just want you to remember that once we go through all this legalese and these processes to get students with disabilities the support and plans that they need, that label does not drive what we decide for a student. Their individual and unique needs, present level data drive the services. Services then drive least restrictive environment and where we provide those services. One quick personal note, I'll never forget a story of when I was working with students with some really intensive needs at the high school. And I had a mom that was really upset, and she came in and had decided that her daughter who qualified under someone as having severe multiple disabilities and most often a cognitive impairment, she had decided that her daughter was exhibiting mostly autism spectrum characteristics. And she was ready to fight for a new evaluation, a new label, a new category. It would not have changed her programming. It would not have changed the ways we were meeting her daughter's unique needs. And we really had to sit down and negotiate that as an IEP team, in that I didn't want to sound flippant, but I wanted this mom to understand that it wasn't the label that was driving what we were providing for her student. It was what her daughter needed and showed us she could do, but needed support to do. This is where it personally becomes very polarizing for me when I think about the laws that drive our educational disability categories, the laws that drive how we certify teachers, versus what we know works best based on students' individual needs. So let's keep that as our focus moving forward now that we have a knowledge base and we're building a knowledge base about these individual disability categories.